Welcome back. Time for the hot sauce now, and there have been questions surrounding migrant workers working in American fields for years. But are they really taking jobs from the American workforce, or are they a necessity to our farming community right here in Western New York?
And I guess the choice the American public has is, do you want us to somehow have a way of bringing people in that can work, or do you want these jobs to go elsewhere?
News 4's George Richert has more on the impact of the migrant workforce on our local farming communities coming up tonight on News 4 at 5. He joins us now for a preview of the story. And George, we're talking about the timing because this is an issue that's just not really going away. People still have a lot of questions about it.
That's right. One of the reasons we decided to address it is over the years we've actually heard the farmers complain about how it's harder for them to maintain a workforce. They bring in a lot of the migrant workers, and so, you know, they have a complaint that some of the rules have changed and the rules could be made better to make it easier for them. But we've also heard over the years that, you know, why aren't American workers doing these jobs? So we looked into a lot of things, and what we found is that, you know, these workers are not paid below minimum wage. You know, they make between $10 and $14 an hour. As to the question of, you know, why aren't American workers doing it, a lot of different farmers have told me that they can't get enough local workers who are willing to do this. You know, they're 8 and 9 hour days. They're not super long days, but they're 8 and 9 hour days up and down on a ladder, continually picking. And one of the things we found is that this one farm that we went to in Niagara County, they picked 13 million apples just this fall.
Wow.
Now you try to think how long it would take somebody to pick 13 million apples. This was only 25 guys, so that's a $500,000 apples per guy. They're very productive, but there is still the argument that, well, why aren't these American jobs? And so we look into all that.
And every time we do a farming story, it's important to note that even if you're not a farming family, or your friends aren't, or your family isn't, it still impacts you because it has to do with the cost of how much your apples cost or your food
Exactly.
costs.
It has to do with how fresh your apples are. It also has to do with the cost of your apples. I mean, if migrant workers could no longer do this job and it had to be a local workforce and an American workforce, maybe the cost of the apples wouldn't be so low.
Right.
Things like that. So those are some of the bigger implications of these. And it's not just apples. You know, tree farmers around here use migrant workers, vegetable farmers. It is a very common thing here in Western New York.
And is it hard for you as a reporter to get people to open up about this issue? It's kind of politically incorrect. People might not want to say too much, especially in front of a camera. What's it like covering it?
And there's also the language barrier. But coming up today at 5, I'm going to interview, you know, a couple of these migrant workers, and they speak primarily Spanish. But it was a rare opportunity to actually go inside their houses, to talk to them, see how they live, see what they think of all this.
And do you speak any Spanish yourself?
No. A little bit of French.
All right.
But that didn't help me.
All right, so there's much to learn on George's special report coming up at News 4 at 5 this evening. I was going to say this morning, this evening. Thanks for coming in on the couch, George Richert. Now it's back over to Emily Lenahan for another Check It What's Happening on the Web. Hey, Em.